So today we're diving into some pretty heavy stuff. We're talking Kabbalah, infinite hidden lights, and how even like your morning coffee could hold a spark of the divine. I'm intrigued already. Hopefully you are too.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how these ancient texts use all these metaphors and stories to explain these really abstract concepts. It's not about, you know, getting lost in the philosophical jargon. It's more about feeling your way towards
Yeah.
a deeper understanding of, well,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, and one concept that really stood out to me was this idea of Awtsmoos, this boundless ultimate reality, like the source of everything. But it's like,
Yeah.
how do you even begin to grasp something that vast?
It's funny you say that because that's the paradox, right? The texts emphasize that. Awtsmoos is beyond human comprehension,
Right.
but it's also the very foundation of our being. One source I was looking at compared Awtsmoos to light hidden within a stone. The light's always present, but it takes a certain way of seeing to perceive it.
Like one of those optical illusions
You
where you have to relax your eyes
Mm.
to see the hidden image. Makes you realize how much our perception shapes our reality.
exactly. And that brings us to this incredible story of the 12 tribes crossing the Red Sea, which is described as walking through the very essence of divine concealment. And it's not just a physical journey. It's about breaking through the veil of the everyday and connecting with a higher reality.
So you're saying this story is like a metaphor for our own lives. Like we're all navigating a world that often hides the divine presence, but maybe if we pay attention, we can experience those parting of the Red Sea moments that kind of jolt us awake to something more.
Precisely. And this leads us to the idea of personal revelation. One passage that really resonated with me talks about how even the simplest actions can take on a whole new meaning. When you start to recognize the presence of Awtsmoos in everything.
So instead of just like rushing through my day on autopilot, I should be trying to see the extraordinary and the ordinary. Okay, that's a powerful concept. But if I'm being honest, it's also a little daunting. Like, how do I actually do that?
Well, it's about shifting your perspective from one of separation to one of interconnectedness. Imagine looking at a tree, and instead of just seeing bark and leaves, you see a vibrant expression of divine energy. Suddenly, even the most mundane tasks can become infused with awe and purpose.
Wow. So even just looking at a tree could be a spiritual experience if I'm seeing it through that lens of interconnectedness. Okay, that's definitely going to change how I look at my houseplants. But let's move on to Tzimtzum, which sounds like a real brain twister. We're talking about the infinite contracting to make space for a finite world. That's a tough one to wrap my head around.
Yeah, it is a tough one. And it gets to the core of how Kabbalah grapples with the mystery of creation. Think of it this way. Imagine a light so blindingly bright that you can't see anything else. For you to actually see, the light needs to dim, creating contrast that allows for perception. In a similar way, Tzimtzum suggests that for our finite world to exist, for us to even have the experience of existing, the infinite had to contract to make space for something other than itself.
That's mind-blowing. So our limitations aren't something to be overcome, but rather essential aspects of experiencing reality. That almost makes you appreciate those can't see the forest for the trees moments.
Precisely. And this is where the Sefiros come in, these emanations or vessels that channel the light of Awtsmoos into creation. It's not a one-time event, but a constant dance. It's emanation and contraction.
And each tribe, representing different spiritual qualities, receives this light according to their capacity. So it's like each of us has a unique vessel for receiving the divine light, and understanding our strengths helps us connect on a deeper level.
That's a great way to put it. Each tribe embodies a different facet of the divine, and their journey, their triumphs, their struggles reflects the intricacies of creation unfolding.
That's fascinating. So we've got this infinite essence, Awtsmoos, which then contracts, Tzimtzum, to make room for our finite world. And then the Sefiros act as channels. For divine light to flow into creation, that's a lot to process. It makes you wonder, why would an infinite being create a finite world in the first place?
It's a question that forces us to think beyond our usual understanding. It makes us consider the very nature of love, purpose, and the relationship between the creator and the created. And it's a question that continues to intrigue scholars and seekers to this day.
And that takes us to like this whole other level, the nature of knowledge itself, right?
It's true. These texts really challenge the idea that knowledge is simply information we acquire.
Yeah, it's like that saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And there were several excerpts that really emphasize how limited our intellect can be.
It's true. Our rational minds can only take us so far. And then we need something more, faith intuition, a willingness to embrace the paradox.
Yeah, like that aha moment. When you finally understand something you've been struggling with, it's not just an intellectual understanding. It's like this feeling deep down that resonates with truth.
Absolutely. I think everyone has those moments of clarity where knowledge goes beyond logic and becomes something you feel in your core. These texts often compare Torah's study to the sweetness of honey, suggesting that true knowledge is something we taste or experience directly.
So it's not just about acquiring knowledge, but about savoring it, letting it nourish us.
That's
Reminds me of when I first read about Tzimtzum. I spent days trying to wrap my head around it, and then while I was on a hike, it just clicked. It wasn't a logical deduction. It was like a feeling of understanding that washed over me.
That's a perfect example of what we're talking about. And this kind of knowledge is often accompanied by a sense of awe, wonder, even joy. It's not about accumulating facts, but connecting with something bigger than ourselves.
And that connection seems to be a key theme in these Kabbalistic teachings, especially when it comes to the importance of action, specifically performing mitzvot.
Right, the mitzvot, the commandments, they're not just about blindly following rules. They're about actively participating in the unfolding of creation.
So it's less about obedience and more about playing an active role. That changes the whole perspective.
Exactly. The text suggests that. Every action we take, every choice we make, creates a ripple effect that goes far beyond our immediate sphere. It's like, think of it this way. We're all weaving threads into a massive cosmic tapestry, and even the smallest act can contribute to the overall pattern.
So even seemingly insignificant actions have the potential to impact the bigger picture. It's like that butterfly effect idea, but on like a cosmic scale. It's kind of mind-boggling and empowering at the same time. And speaking of empowering, how does prayer fit into all of this?
Yeah, prayer in Kabbalah isn't just about like asking for things. It's more about aligning your consciousness with the divine will. It's a way to kind of elevate yourself and become a conduit for that divine energy to flow into the world.
So it's not about reciting words on autopilot. It's about cultivating a deeper awareness and intention.
Exactly.
It makes me think about those times when I've felt truly connected to something larger than myself, whether it's through meditation or being in nature or even just a moment of deep gratitude. Those experiences always leave me feeling energized and inspired.
Exactly. Kabbalah really emphasizes the power of human agency. You're not just a passive bystander in the universe, you're an active participant in shaping reality.
Wow, so it's like we're all co-creators with the divine.
That's a great way to put it.
That's a huge responsibility, but also an incredible opportunity. And it reminds me of that final passage we have. And nothing would ever be the same. It's such a simple statement, but it speaks volumes about the potential for transformation when we start to grasp these Kabbalistic ideas.
It's about seeing the world with new eyes, recognizing the interconnectedness of all things, and understanding the profound impact our thoughts and actions can have.
So for our listeners out there who are trying to make sense of it all, what's the key takeaway? How can they apply these ancient teachings to their modern lives?
Imagine having a framework to understand your own life experiences. That's what these teachings offer. If reality is this dynamic interplay of divine light and human action, then every choice you make, every thought you have, carries weight and meaning.
It's a call to live with intention, to see the spark of the divine in everything and everyone, and to act in ways that align with your highest values.
And to never underestimate the power of those aha moments, those flashes of insight that illuminate the path ahead and remind us that we're all part of something much greater than ourselves.
This deep dive has been quite a journey, from the infinite depths of Awtsmoos to the very personal experience of revelation. It's left me with a lot to ponder, and I hope it's done the same for you.
If there's one thing to take away from this exploration, it's that the journey itself is the destination. Keep asking questions, keep seeking knowledge, and keep exploring the mysteries of existence. You never know what you might discover.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. If every action creates a ripple effect, what kind of ripples will you send out into the world today? Choose wisely and keep diving deep.